Well, welcome to the Botanical Medicine Study course with me, Stephanie Georgia, your host and instructor for all things botanical medicine. A big thank you to all long-term subscribers and a welcome to new subscribers. Also, a big shout out and hello to all of you who are visiting the channel for the first time. I hope you return and I hope you consider subscribing. Now, at the time of the posting of this video in the Northern Hemisphere, we are well into winter with all the familiar health challenges that this season presents, particularly this year. Winter has come in with a roar. I'm not sure what our lovely Southern Hemisphere people are doing when they're welcoming summer, but we are really doing winter up quite well here in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, one of the most healing ways that you can help your body during these long, cold nights and damp days is actually something many in the Western nations are quite deprived of, and that is sleep. Sleep is the best healer. I do it myself, and I've often told other people, if you feel like a cold or flu is coming on, go to bed. Just sleep. It's very restorative. And we're supposed to be sleeping more during winter, because the nights are longer. It's what nature is doing. And if we go to sleep more, then we tend to be more healthy. So, for the next few episodes on the herb of the week, we're going to be exploring some natural ways that you can coax your body to sleep. So for this week's herb of the week, we're going to explore an herb that was really popular um, in the 1990s and early 2000s. Um, but it's, like most herbal products that are competing with pharmaceuticals, they usually find some problems with it. But it's still the favorite of many seeking natural remedies for sleep, stress, depression, and so on. And it's called Kava Kava. Now, what I'm going to do in this episode is I'm going to go through the cautions first. And I always have issues with things like this as a long-term practitioner of natural and herbal medicine. um, I'm always, what kind of a little bit suspicious when everybody's freaking out and there's terrible public service announcements telling you you're going to die if you drink an herbal tea. But anyways, I do feel that it's important to do some just cautions, things you need to pay attention to when it comes to kava kava. And, full disclosure, I have never personally used this herb. I have always slept really well. Um, there's times when I don't sleep well, and there are reasons for it that are very, very understandable. Either times of great stress or I have trouble during full moons. I tend to not sleep well during them. But anyways, I've never used it with my clients, mainly because when I was in active practice, there were so many cautions and contraindications and this and that and the other thing. I just felt there were other things that I could use that didn't have so much bad press. But in the 1990s, it seems that Kava Kava was all the rage. And what's interesting is the drug Paxil, which was approved for use in the United States, specifically for depression. This was also approved at the same time that Kava Kava was all the rage. And during this time in the 90s, St. John's wort was also all the rage. It was touted, these kava and St. John's wort were touted as the miracle herb that would take away all of our depression problems. And there were every kind of supplement you can imagine, tea that usually combined these two herbs. And just an aside, it's telling when a culture tries all sorts of methods to deal with depression. So that's always interesting. Um, and what happened with kava was there were numerous cases of problems which are usually attributed to herbal products. This is just reality. And it's always interesting when you do really look at the case studies, it's not like thousands and hundreds of thousands of people are having these problems. They're usually in the hundreds. Okay. And so there were 100 people that had problems with kava, and this set off a firestorm. But we are all rational beings, and those of you who are watching this channel, you appreciate facts. That's kind of an interesting phenomenon these days, facts. So let's dive into some facts and well-documented reasons for cautions with kava. Now, in the case of Kava Kava, there were numerous cases all over the world, which again didn't range in the hundreds of thousands. It was more in the hundreds, but they were numerous enough that governments and health agencies, particularly in Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, and several countries in Europe, including Germany and Switzerland and France, that they either instituted outright bans, like no kava, or there were extensive campaigns to alert the public as to risks associated with kava. So I want to educate you on all of the issues were for this plant, and also the fact that only the root should be used medicinally. Now, with anything that you put in the body, I don't care what it is, but specifically if you're on prescription medications, please consult your physician and pharmacist to make sure that there are no contraindications or other interactions that could either potentiate making your drug stronger or prevent your prescriptions from working. Okay, those are two biggies. And if you are on prescriptions for things like depression, never, I mean never, ever, 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 would you ever take yourself off cold turkey? Ever. Do not do that. When I was in practice, I worked with a psychiatrist and a physician in terms of getting clients off their psych medications. Okay. And this involved very lengthy and strict schedules of weaning people off and supporting them with other things while they were getting off their medication, like vitamins and nutrition and talk therapy and all that other stuff. And you have to be off of your medications before you start things like Kava Kava or St. John's Wort. And we did this mainly, number one, because we care about the well-being of our patients. And you can really damage yourself if you take yourself off your psych medicines cold turkey and unsupervised. You can really hurt yourself. So we did this because we cared about the well-being of our patients. And secondly, we did not want to get sued if something terrible and preventable happened. So this is why it's big caution. So no drug and herb combinations here. Please, if you're on prescriptions, do not take kava. The other big caution is if you have a history of drug and alcohol abuse, which have harmed your liver. Kava works somewhat on the liver, and this can be a problem. So don't take this herb because the big problems with the herb is that the research said that, and the adverse effects was because it harmed the liver. So if you have this kind of history, this herb is not for you. There are hundreds of other things that you can take. The issues with kava were so widely reported that the American Herbal Products Association actually developed a warning label. American Herbal Products Association is all about safety, education, this, that, and the other thing. and they want to make sure people are fully informed. And if you're informed, then it's your issue. Now, other side effects of kava, and again, this is from chronic and heavy consumption. They, include liver toxins, hepatotoxicities is the fancy word for that, problems with vision. And in Chinese medicine, the liver is related to eyesight. So it does harm your vision. It also caused rashes and problems with the skin. Some people also experience nausea and also seizures, which I think would not be a fun thing to have. Now, as I said, this product is banned in numerous countries. I have a link in the program notes on a consumer information sheet from my beloved state of California, which covers just about everything. And there are also numerous research studies and literature searches that are saying kava needs to be reconsidered. So we'll see what happens with that. But everything that I report to you, my dear viewers, educate yourself, involve your healthcare team, and make sound decisions based on actual documented facts. Now, in spite of all the hype and the cautions, it seems that kava has been used for thousands and thousands of years in the Pacific Island regions. These people seem to be just fine. It's used for ritual purposes. It's also used medicinally. And the kava plant belongs to the Piperaceae family, which is the pepper family, and it's widely cultivated in the South Pacific. And it's cultivated mainly for its root stock. This is where the medicinal properties are, and that's where you want to get your products from, because apparently the issues with the roots are even more pronounced if you use the any other part of the plant. It's a shrub, and it's native to Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. And there are about 150 cultivars with various content and compositions of active ingredients. Now, the word Kava Kava in several of these Pacific Island languages means bitter. And it can be either the plant or the beverage. Now, this plant has all kinds of amazing properties, and it is used throughout, as I said, Polynesia. It's also very popular in Hawaii, then Tanu, the Philippines. So it's really widely used in these cultures, and apparently it's not killing thousands of people throughout the centuries. So I'm just giving you facts. Now, the medicinal actions of Kava Kava, Pipermethysticum, it's a relaxing nervine. Okay. This is why it's so coveted. It just calms your nervous system down. And if you're having trouble falling asleep and also staying asleep, this is showing that there's things wrong with your nervous system, specifically your adrenal glands. And if you can't fall asleep, it's because you're too stimulated. And this herb can help you relax. And again, it's the root, which you can see a picture of on the slide. It's made out of like a resin from the root. It's a hypnotic, which also means that's why certain cultures use it as a ritual aid. It has antispasmodic properties. Obviously, if it's calming down the nervous system, it'll be antispasmodic. It also has a history of use as a local anesthetic and an antifungal. I don't know a whole lot about that, but I have to list it. The modern uses, now traditionally this plant was used for relaxation and also as a sleep aid, in addition to its ritual properties. Now the modern usage is specifically for things like anxiety and mild depression. It's also used as a sleep aid. Now, the traditional method of kava, how to prepare it, is not something I would encourage anyone to do other than for yourself. Um, Basically, the traditional way to prepare this is to chew on the roots and spit out the chewed roots and make a paste and then make a tea. So if you care about things like, other people's saliva in your tea, this might not be the best way to do it. But if you want to do it yourself, obviously knock yourself out. The products available on the market are usually made with machines and involve things like making tinctures, powders, things like that. Now, the resin is the medicinally active part of kava root, and there are three chemical classes in the kava resin. They have these marvelous names that would be the envy of everybody, with lots of letters that you can't get rid of during Scrabble. But the most active constituents are called kava lactones. And there you have a picture of that. And this is the one that has the highest studied and also active effect on the body. Now, it really depends. I mean, herbal medicine is a lot like wine. It really depends on the season that the plant is grown, how much constituents are there. And that's always been the problem with herbal medicine, getting the standard dosages, because if you're using bulk herbs don't have standard dosages. Only pharmaceuticals, which have been synthesized in the lab, have standard dosages. If you're getting 1 milligram of aspirin versus 1 milligram of willow bark, the active constituent in willow bark just depends on all kinds of things. So it depends on how many of these kava lactones are in the resin. And the roots obviously contain a lot of water. There's starch, fibers, proteins, sugars, and then depending on the root, the gear, the cultivar, it can have anywhere from 3 to 20% of this lovely constituents. We don't really know why kava lactones produce the effects such as calming anxiety and also aiding in sleep, but it does appear that they seem to affect neurotransmitters, and the neurotransmitters are basically the hormones in your brain, the chemicals in your brain, and it's specifically the GABA receptors. It seems to calm these receptors down, and the GABA is involved in anxiety. So, you can tell people if you're anxious and you're taking kava, you can say, my GABA receptors are calmed down because of kava lactones. Now, growing kava, you obviously need to be in some sort of tropical environment because it's indigenous to all these wonderful, hot, moist jungle climates. So I don't know if you live, along the Arctic Circle, this will probably be a greenhouse plant for you. But there are all kinds of websites and nurseries and seed sources if you want to grow these. I have a wonderful link for a company called Calm with Kava, and it has everything you would want to know about how to grow kava. And obviously, you can do that. In pots or directly in your garden. Let's say if you live in Hawaii or some other wonderful tropical paradise. So, however you want to include this wonderful plant into your health regimen during the winter, there are also homeopathic preparations of kava. So, if you have concerns about your liver, but you really want to use it, you can always take it as a homeopathic remedy. I think it's quite a beautiful plant. So if you want to grow this, but know that You have to wait a couple years and you have to use the roots. So you have to sacrifice the plant if you grow this. But however you want to use this plant, I hope you can come to appreciate the incredible gift that this native of Polynesia, of the Pacific Islands, can be a wonderful aid for your winter health. This is Stephanie Georgiev saying thank you so much for spending your valuable time with me. Thanks again to all long-term subscribers and welcome to new. And also thanks to all people that are just coasting through for the first time. Make sure to check out the links in the program notes. And this is Stephanie Georgiev saying until next time, be well.